Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda. And Steve, this week we're going to go through some of the highlights of our latest Global Dairy Directions newsletter, the November newsletter that's just about to hit subscribers.
Yep. Starting with some trade highlights. We've added up global trade like we always do. This is based on September data mostly, with a bit of a glimpse into some October where it's available. And we've seen total trade pick up.
Which is a bit of a change from the previous 3 months.
Yeah. Most major categories are up, which we haven't seen for a little while as well. And just a bit of comparison, what was going on last year and the mountain that's ahead of us in total trade, which looks like it's going to be really hard to beat. But we've just come out the low part of the season in terms of trade activity. And just a reminder that in that spurt we saw the red line, last year's line, that 48% of the growth there was just in skim.
Yeah, massive.
As that cheap intervention product started to come out. Carried into the first quarter of this year, but that's in the background.
So a very different scenario this time. And also some interesting trends in who's importing.
Yeah, again, North America tops the table, which is affected by some front-ending of trade in butter and cheese ahead of the tariffs that came into effect. European tariffs came into effect in October. Yeah. So that sort of distorts it a bit. Yeah, and
Southeast Asia at the bottom there, which that's really been that region's been a bit of an engine for skim demand until now. So just falling back to the bottom.
Yeah, and it's been, as you can see, that it's the last 3 and 6 months it's nested at the foot of the table.
Sure.
So seeing where that goes. So look, in our global outlook work, we have a lot of analysis of the interconnections between milk pools and products between those pools. So let's go around those main issues, starting with skim.
Yeah, always interesting. And the chart on the left-hand side, Steve, just shows that very close relationship to that stock turnover index and pricing.
Yeah, so we expect that stays similar, though we feel now that intervention stocks are cleared. We've got some other relationships affecting that. So because of the fact that the US exported a lot of powder, that the influence of total availability is going to start to play a role in that. So that's impacting our formula, and it's given us a slightly tighter fit. In fact, look at it that way.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting development. That market's still going to stay fairly firm and tight with the size of demand, and we expect that to trend back to normal. Moving across to cheese and the fraying of prices that we've seen for most of 2019 is starting to come back together. Yeah,
we're starting to see those prices converging just with that major correction in the US for cheese prices.
Yeah, with more availability of cheddar, that's releasing some of the anxiety there.
Yeah.
But the other really interesting thing is what's happening to European prices, which have been cheapest for some time.
Yeah.
And whilst there's been a recent rise in the outlook, there's going to be some benefit of the improving skim and butter stream, but also this
offsetting that
is this amount of capacity coming online.
Right.
So as much as 200,000 tonnes comes online in the next year of new production, which
mostly mozzarella.
Pretty much all mozzarella.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of projects, which is destined to remain challenging. So cheese demand growth has been sluggish. It's just started to pick up in the last few months. So how that plays out, there'll need to be a lot of furious marketing activity to get more cheese sold.
For sure.
Into the Asian region where most of the growth has been. So that's an interesting.
Watch this space.
Yeah, challenge.
And next we're going to butter, sliding into butter.
Yeah, so things are a little soft here. It's the old joke you usually make. So while butter trade picked up and rose for the first time in some months, I think since the first quarter, if you strip it down and take out some of the distorting effects of that trade in North America, then you just add up the developing world trade, that's just risen above the line. So that's just started to grow again. Yeah,
it's just highlighting the extreme sensitivity, price sensitivity those markets have in terms of fat demand or butter fat demand.
Yeah, so in that chart, we see the latest ship prices in that data are around $5,000 a tonne.
So a bit further to go.
A bit further to go because we're seeing GDT prices about $1,000 below that now. So
Yeah.
we should see some activity pick up.
Yep.
That's an important development to watch.
And now we're at whole milk powder.
Yeah, there's a little circle of influence on the right-hand side there. So New Zealand finally balanced.
Yeah.
So milk production being a little bit burnt off with weather lately. Two effects, a bit more dry in the north and a bit wet and cold in the very south.
Yeah, it's a very colourful map there with that soil moisture.
It's about the most technicolor it's been this year.
I reckon it
Yeah,
is.
it's pretty.
And a bit more availability out of Latin America as well.
Yes. So their milk production is recovering, but they're also, their domestic market is horrible because their economy in Argentina is wrecked. And we're seeing more movement across to milk powder.
Yep, sure.
Just how that plays out, the government's yet to declare policies affecting dairy. So.
Yeah, and then fat-filled, bit of an increase in veg oils recently.
Yes, quite about 40% increase in prices.
Yeah, but there's still going to be a factor in some of those regions like the Middle East.
Definitely.
Although there has been a bit of buying activity in the Middle East, just out of GDT in the last month. So
yeah, that's picked up a bit, but fat-filled trade is still strong.
Sure. And China, obviously key for whole milk powder demand and fairly strong demand in the last few months into China.
Particularly to New Zealand. New Zealand exports up 32%, I think, since the start of the season, so it's very strong.
So the dynamics again in China, imported product very highly competitive against pretty expensive local products, so that's continuing to support demand.
Yeah, with local milk prices still rising.
Absolutely.
So yes, that's a roundup of, I suppose, key issues. Joanne, your chart of the week.
My chart of the week, well, I had a different chart of the week, but I got overruled. So this chart of the week is about European production of skim milk powder, Steve, and it was down significantly in September. Why do you think that is?
Benefits of live video. So we saw that drop just at the same time as we saw butter output increase. So butter output's about 4 to 5% higher.
Yeah, which they usually coincide.
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah, that's right. So there's a fair draw on skim solids. Fat-filled exports out of Europe are still growing about 14-15%.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more going into that channel. A bit more into cheese, we think, in the last quarter. So we think that's going to start playing a factor as milk production starts to grow again. So yeah, there's things that have been eating away at the skim output, which may change. As we go forward, we see skim production increasing in the next year. It's been weak, and you can see those comparative lines there. It's been well down this year,
but with a lot less stock around, so the availability is pretty similar. Really.
It is fairly similar. And it's going to stay fairly tight. All right, that's a quick tour of issues. I think that's a wrap. We'll be back next week from across the ditch, juggling a camera in the front of a car and on fences and whatever as we try and
That's New Zealand, by the way.
capture some green pastures. So it's all from us. We'll see you next week.